There's a story going around, a story with low yields and some bad decisions. And you can tell me if you've heard this. It all starts with a tortoise and a hare. Here's something that comes up a lot. Opportunity cost, as in you're losing money holding gold because there are higher yielding assets available. And it's true that $100,000 in gold that you have, it could be paying you something more if you bought Apple stock instead. There's always something, especially if you're using hindsight. Now, it used to be the crypto fans who would come on and say that. They'd have these wild statements because for a hot minute, everything in crypto land was just taking off. Lately, though, I've heard it from people on just about every asset class you can think of, from real estate to equities, and lately, even bonds. What I haven't heard anyone suggest is that you should hold cash instead of gold. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who think that too, but there's no yield comparison in that example. And to me, cash is the comparable asset. I'd either be saving in gold or saving in cash, more or less. And buying gold doesn't really prevent me from doing anything else, really, except maybe saving cash or wasting cash. Now, this is a big topic, so let's start here. There is some merit to the idea that too much of a good thing can be bad. Now, a few videos back, I mentioned that it's likely that I'll use gold in one way or another in retirement. And it was pointed out that I didn't make it clear that I have other things in play to pay the bills. Now, a few people thought that maybe a new person to the channel would see that video and think that all I had in place was gold. Obviously, that's not the case. I've mentioned in past videos that I have tax-advantaged accounts, simple IRA, 401k, I have some real estate, I have non-tax-advantaged investments, stocks, bonds, crypto. I feel funny getting too deep into what I'm up to because for all I know, what I do could be exactly wrong for others. I'm no financial advisor. What you're getting here is a box of chocolates. If I was responding directly to the suggestion that I'm incurring opportunity cost by holding gold, well, again, I would simply point to the fact that it's savings to me. So let's use that bond example that keeps coming up. It's been pointed out several times recently, the bonds would have a 4 to 5% return. So holding $100,000 in gold costs me $4,000 to $5,000 a year. But does it really? Because gold is up 9% this year, so that's not valid at the moment. Bonds would have cost me this year, and that still is not the point because gold has to be cash for me to think that it's a winner from that perspective, and it has. Now, on top of the appreciation factor, I carved out the budget that I was using to buy the gold from wasted expense. Now, eventually, I even spun up a few things that kicked off passive income that bought me some more. Now, that was done with the specific intent of buying more gold. So now it's not only beating cash, it's coming from money that just didn't exist. It was either not there or I was wasting it. If we want to come at this from the angle that money's still money and better decisions could still be made, well, if I've ever given the impression that I just don't invest, let me clear that up quick. I do. I would rather have my money work for me than me working for my money. I'm no Warren Buffett, clearly. I'm not the world's sharpest investor or entrepreneur, but I've done well enough there, and I've never missed a swing at an opportunity because all my capital was tied up in gold. So that suggestion is just kind of silly. I actually invest more aggressively knowing that I have additional savings, and I'm a little bit less anxious about business risk because I have that backup fund. Let me give you my poker analogy here. I will not sit down at a no-limit hold'em table with money that I'm afraid to lose, ever. Now, this is a game where a skilled player has a few advantages. They know the hand odds, of course. They understand how to play their position, and they understand how to read players. But more than anything, they know how to push a player out of a hand, because if an opponent is afraid to lose everything they sat down with, then all you have to do is put them all in. If the risk seems too high, they're going to lay down their hand because whether or not they think you have you beat, they can't be certain. And the only thing that they really know for sure is that they aren't comfortable risking everything they came with. Investing works more or less like that. Just pick a stock. Take Tesla. There would have been multiple times that you could have been underwater. Elon Musk tweets something stupid. The stock tanks. Now, if you're afraid of losing that capital, maybe you sell at the wrong time. Means you lose out. It's the same idea. You're afraid to lose more. You sell at the wrong time. Maybe it rebounds later, shoots back up on the next earnings win. Well, you're already out. If you have a backup though, like, I don't know, a stash of gold that you could liquidate if you had to, well, you'd be able to ride that out and sell only when it makes sense. Now, that's how I see it. I can be more aggressive with investments because I know I have other assets that aren't affected by the same risks. So here's the thing. True wealth is being free. That's one of the tenets of Stoicism, and there are a dozen great quotes from Stoics that use fancier words, but that's the takeaway. Actual wealth comes from having enough money, not really from having a lot of money. You can be a billionaire, you can still have a crappy life. Something that I picked up. It's not because I've become a billionaire, unfortunately. I've just noticed that as I've earned more, things don't necessarily get any easier. They just change. There are things you can do, though, to make life easier. Things like having a backup fund, staying diversified. And that doesn't mean buying silver and platinum in addition to gold. Those are the same classes. It means working with multiple asset classes and trying to limit those biases that you might have across them. A really good example of this would be a corporate match on a retirement plan. Now, that's not sexy, but if I was deciding between maxing out a 401k where an employer matched my contribution and buying another gold coin, well, I'm going to go for the one with the multiplier where someone is literally paying me to save. Now, if it's a question instead of fancy gadgets or new subscriptions, something like that, or another gold coin, well, that's probably closer to what I'm actually deciding between. And in a case like that, opportunity cost doesn't apply because the money that I'm using to fund my gold isn't preventing me from investing in growth assets. Now, your age is such a big part of this topic. If you're getting into gold as a young person, you're early into your earning career, I would just say go into it with clear eyes. Try not to look at gold as an investment. Get after those multipliers and don't tie up all your capital in shiny rocks. Now, if you're older like me, well, I don't take orders anymore. I do whatever I want, as long as my wife is cool with it. I'm kidding. Kind of, but there's a point where your investment horizon changes and you might want to lessen your reliance on growth assets because opportunities typically come with risk. Your risk tolerance is going to change over time, or at least it should. So to really get to the core of this question of whether there's an opportunity cost to holding gold, my take is no, but I'm not trying to change any minds. I just try not to buy gold in a way that it prevents me from doing other things. The one thing I will say here is that there's a little bit of a magnetic draw to this stuff. And there are probably times where I could have used discretionary income on other things rather than buying that gold. Those other things might have been better in terms of return on capital. So there you go. There's a case here and there, not on an ongoing basis. So we'll go back to bonds just for a minute. They're the best example I can come up with. I mentioned them earlier. It's a strange example, though, because I would have never thought I'd really be into them. It's another case of something not being very sexy, but they have had historic returns and they've been easy money, and I was a little late to that party because they're boring. And maybe that captivation with gold had a little bit to do with it. I don't know. Dragon fever, though, feels like a real thing. So let's say I did mess that up, blinded by the light and all of that. Looking at this through an opportunity cost lens, I already mentioned that gold actually beat bonds, but here are the numbers behind it. If you look at the buy to sell spread on gold, call it 4 to 5%. You buy gold for 7% premium, you sell it for 2% premium, that's 5%. I can probably get 4. 12-month return on gold would be about the same as a short-term bond because gold has appreciated 9%. You back off 4%, that's 5. So here's a case where maybe I missed out on something, maybe I could have gone heavier on it. It still didn't really return more than the gold. So this is starting to feel like a weird circle. The addictive component I just mentioned, that's also what makes you want to save more of it. You want to get more gold. You want to waste less in other areas so you can buy more gold. And I just can't see myself working harder for the past 15 years so that I would get more money to put into bonds. So even if that dragon fever can blind you to other opportunities, which I think is the implication that a lot of people are bringing when they make the comment about opportunity cost to begin with, it's also the thing that gets you to save in the first place. So again, this whole thing is kind of silly. You see that a person has accumulated a significant savings in gold, and then you tell them, hey, you missed the boat. So let me get in one more kick to make sure the horse is dead. Twice now, I've sold gold to help fund real estate purchases at unexpected times, and those returns have outperformed most of my stock investments that I've ever made. Way, way outperformed any kind of average bond yields over the years. So I don't want to drop this mic because it was expensive, but if I was trying to make a point, I think that's where I'd do it. Okay, let's call it good there. I've screwed up plenty of things over the years, and I think if I keep talking, I'm going to have to start listing them out. But as far as gold goes, I just don't think it's one of those mistakes. So let us know what you think. Is buying gold a net loss over time? Let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. It's always a big help to the channel. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you'd like to see more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.